Right, if you had to choose two of these items, what two would you pick? And this is if you had to go into the woods and you needed something to cut and something to saw. What would you choose personally out of these four items? I know what I would choose, but after watching a lot of videos online, I'll show you what seems to be what most YouTube survival experts would recommend to you. Now, out of knives, it would be a fixed blade knife. And out of saws, from what I've seen, what most people would recommend is something like this. Not something like this. Which is something I don't actually understand. Because if you could only take one knife, most people would ever recommend that you don't take a folding knife. It's better to take a fixed blade knife. But when it comes to saws, 99% of YouTube survival experts or preppers or bushcrafters seem to recommend folding type saws. Alright, you all know what they say about folding knives, that the lock has got to be good, etc. They can sometimes flex at the pivot, and it's got to make sure it doesn't fold up on your fingers. Well, the folding up on your fingers on a handsaw, that isn't going to be the case, because you are sawing with the blade, you know, on something. So you're never using the point, so it's not going to fold up on your fingers. But this is always going to be a weak spot on any saw, any folding saw. Now, you know, granted, this is a cheap folding saw, but any saw here at the pivot is always going to be a weak point. Now, I have had one which did snap here at the handle. Mind you, you could probably still hold it and use it, but it's not the point. But I've noticed that no one seems to recommend, like I suppose you'd call them, a fixed blade folding saw. No one I've seen in the bushcraft, prepping or survival community seems to recommend saws like this, and I can't understand why. Why you wouldn't recommend that. I partly understand the budget and price wise, because for example this you can get for about £4 and this cost £40, but still this cost £100 and this cost about £20, but you'd still go for the £100 one if you could only pick one knife, fixed blade or folding. I know 99% of people would choose this one guaranteed over this one if you could only take one knife. So I suppose you have some advantages with a folding saw, is that it folds up and becomes smaller. But this saw isn't particularly big anyway, and it's got its own sheath, because most people will end up having to make a sheath for this to fit inside, but you have got a sheath for it. Now, what a lot of other people don't seem to realise is, I can't really say much about these folding type, which I think these are though. Silky saws, a lot of them are designed for arborists and tree surgeons, and these type are probably more for gardeners. Not that makes much difference, but I'm going to get to that in a second. Now you can get some great big silky saws, massive great ones, and even when they're folded up they're still going to be like this big. They've got a massive great handle. Now most of those are actually designed to be used with two hands. Now when you're cutting stuff in a survival or a bushcraft situation, a lot of the time you may have to hold it with one hand and cut with the other. Now these saws are designed to cut with one hand, so you could hold your branch, whatever, and cut. The great big two-handed ones, they're absolutely ideal if you're cutting branches off a tree which is still connected, but that won't be the case in a survival situation. You're going to more likely to be cutting dead wood on the floor. So I've seen a lot of people holding these great big saws, trying to figure out where to hold the handle, because the handle's like this big. Hold it up the one end, hold it up the other end, hold it down the bottom end, and they've just got a load of handle before they've even got the blade. Hold it up the other end and they've got a load of handle sticking out here. So I never understand why you don't just recommend something like this, or some of the other silky type one-handed or fixed blade saws. It's weird because it almost seems to be that the whole folding saw thing is just following the crowd and just keep going on from what other people say. This is just, you know, what I think. I don't think I've actually seen anybody recommend a fixed blade saw at all. Not one person. Yeah, that once it's put away and this one's folded up, that this is smaller. But if I had to go anywhere with a saw of this type of size, because these blades are roughly the same, I would choose this any day over a folding saw. The blade is slightly larger on this one. Well, that's my confusing question. Why does everyone I see recommend a folding saw over a fixed blade saw, but would never recommend a folding knife over a fixed blade knife? Like I said, I understand some things, price, etc., and size, you know, packs small, but this saw, like I said, isn't particularly big anyway. And you think once you've got that in a pouch to carry on your belt, if you do, it's not going to be that much smaller. So if you think you can answer that question for me, then let me know. I just don't understand it. Right, anyway, cheers for watching, and I'll see you later. If you like this video and you want to see more like this, check out my channel. You can always subscribe. I upload them all the time, regular basis, so have a look. Right, cheers for watching, and I'll see you later. If you want to get full notifications from my channel, go to this little gear symbol next to where it says subscribed, click on that, and here where it says send me all notifications for this channel, click on that and then save it.